Gopa Nair learned from Sai Baba all that he needs to know to awaken to the absolute truth of his own identity.
You have to get awakened this lifetime because he said, I came so that you don't have to come back again. I came and gave you all the instruction, material, and everything so that you can practice again. What do you mean by come back again? You become awakened yourself.
Learning who you really are is Sai Baba's greatest gift to everyone.
I think that's the power. That's how the Sai Center wants to be perceived. And that's how we want to be in the community, that we are here to help awaken this divinity in everyone.
Gopa's message is about the greatest seva, helping others to awaken.
The purpose of life is to awaken your inner divinity right now. Yeah. And how does it happen? When I close my eyes, I can experience something, peace within, an awareness of Him. Through Him, I am able to connect to my inner consciousness. That awareness is slowly started building up. I am more peaceful. I don't care about what happens in life. What happens is his plan. Whether it is suffering or whether it is a celebration, I am able to maintain. Even if it is suffering, I'm thinking this is his plan. It has to happen and he'll take care. I know I'm not awakened, but there is a difference in me. And that power is what he is all about.
His is such an important story. Gopa Nair is the president of the Sri Satya Sai Baba Center of Richmond, Virginia. His story about coming to Sai Baba and coming to heightened awareness is meaningful to many. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded on March 16th, 2024 in Richmond, Virginia and Coronado, California. Gopa Nair from Richmond, Virginia, welcome to Souljourns. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Ted. It's not only a pleasure, but it's also a privilege and blessing to have you on the other side, because you have interviewed so many masters and so many practitioners in the spiritual area. And it is always a privilege and a blessing to be on the other side with you. And thank you for having me today.
Well, I certainly wasn't expecting that, but thank you for your comments and your warm consideration for what appears to be work on my end of it. But as I told Baba one Christmas Day when I was invited to speak in front of the Divine Presence, that it's never been work for me. In fact, I kind of feel it's almost a selfish enterprise doing Souljourns interviews because I learn. And what are we going to learn from Gopa today? When did he start visiting Sai Baba?
Every year during Onam celebrations, we as a group from our district or our Samiti or our center in the context here, we went as a group for the Onam celebrations. So what I try, I mean, again, those days, I'm just a curious student. I don't know whether this is God, who this man is. Everybody is saying, so I'm going. But inside me, I'm challenging. I started challenging him. My challenge was, if I get a better grade, if I get more marks, then you are God. Obviously, that's all. What is it? You pray to him and say,
Is that a challenge, Gopa, or is that a bribe?
I would say, to me that time it was a challenge, because if you prove, then I believe you. All right. It is also a bribe when you are already in that. But now I am not at a devotee. I'm just trying to find out. So I'm challenging you
Okay.
in a sense
I
that,
accept
hey,
that.
yeah, you do this to me, then I believe you. And and see, now if you look back, it was so silly, but still. And some of the examinations, and then comes the most important exam those days, is our engineering entrance, wherein in my state there are only 5 colleges and very few limited seats, and to get into this admission is a big task. And this is my biggest prayer to him: and you have to give me a seat, you have to get me admission to the engineering college. That was the biggest prayer. And now, uh, after the exam and everything, I get into this engineering college, and I'll later say how it was validated by him. That story is coming, because once I got in, I was doing my engineering, and that is the time I also started going to the center. I started attending. Now I'm a teenager. I'm a youth. I got attracted to him for some reason. His bhajans, his discourses those days are very boring, especially when we go to Parthi. I don't want to sit there. It's so boring. First of all, I don't understand the language. But towards the end, there is this beautiful bhajan he sings that is very attractive. And I got a picture of him. I kept in my room this picture I got from Prashant Nil. And that's something, that's where the communication started about this, all this bribe and challenge, all those things. And now I started going to the center every Thursday, no matter what. I go for the bhajans. I got attracted to the service. Obviously, as a young child youth, there were a lot of medical camps and other things. We went, and they gave me the center responsibility of a service coordinator at a very young age. So I started doing those activities. Fast forward, I am in my engineering college, my final year engineering, and one day I go for a temple bhajan, and one of the Sai brothers there asked me, Gopa, I'm going to Prashant Nilayam tomorrow. Are you coming? I said, I only go during Onam. I don't, first of all, my dad will not give me money to go because he doesn't believe in this. In those days, you need to get the train fare, you need to get all those. And he's, even for Onam, he's very difficult to get that money. But, and now he's asking me to go. I'm like, no way. He said, no, don't worry about ticket. We'll take care of ticket. Are you ready? Are you coming? I look at my schedule. I said, I'm having study leave, meaning before the examination, there is some break. I don't have to go to class. So I'm free now. I can come. And he said, then come, let's go tomorrow. And we embark on a train. And the purpose of going was we had a small stall, meaning where we sell the books, we sell Swamis, locket and other things in a public exhibition. So the center put a stall. We want to go buy things from Prashant Nilayam, especially the lockets, the rings, the books, and all those things. We want to buy from there and bring it. That's why we went. We just went for a 2-day trip. And all of a sudden, we finished all this work. And one evening, we are walking back. Next day, we are coming back home. As we walk through the canteen road gate, this Sai brother asked me, hey, we got so many rings from here. You don't have one yet. Why don't you have one? I'm like, well, I don't believe it. I don't want to show off or his thing. I don't want to put it. Now, if I put a ring, then everybody in my college is going to ask me, who's this Sai Baba? And incidentally, even there itself, there is a big problem. So I was telling in an engineering college, talking about Sai Baba, who's just a miracle man. It's going to be a very difficult topic. So I don't want to put anything which shows me I'm a devotee. I left it there. I also made a comment, very surprising. I said, if Swami gives, I'll take it. That's a different comment I made there. But the real reason was I don't want to show people that I'm a Sai devotee.
Yeah.
Because especially in college. Next day morning, we are coming back and we said, hey, we didn't go to Nagar Sankirtan. We have to go to Nagar Sankirtan tomorrow. Sure. By the time we got up, Nagar Sankirtan is over. We are so tired. We woke up and we ran for darshan. We went there. We were towards the behind near the tree. This was, I think, it's 1991. That time the Kulwandal was not there. It was the old one there. And we were sitting there. Swami comes for darshan. He goes by. He looks back. He calls me like this. I look onto my side. Who's he calling? I ignore it. And then again, he walks by, he turns back, he again calls. I'm like, mm-mm. Then my Sai brother immediately said, no, it is us, he is calling, let's go. Okay, and we both go. And here we go into the interview room, and it's both of us. And then there were a lot of other devotees, and all of us going. And this is the first thing which struck me was, he is considered God by all the people who are sitting there. And he opens the door, he closes the door, he makes sure that everybody is comfortable, he puts the lock, and then he goes and sits. He could have just sat in the throne and commanded his assistant to do this locking and all those things. No, it was his hospitality, his love. There itself, it was so evident. Then he started, and here is the interesting part. He started asking Enna Samajar, meaning what's news, and he started talking. He started talking in Telugu. There were around 20 people who were from the Telugu assembly, the legislature or the lawmakers who were there along this group. And he started talking, and time is ticking, and time's 30 minutes. I'm not understanding anything. I'm getting bored here. Now, inside the interview room, I'm getting bored. Now I'm looking at the clock. My bus is at 10 o'clock. And this interview is continuing. Then I might miss the bus. If I miss the bus, it's a big deal for me at that time. And after 45 minutes of his spiritual talk, I mean, I understood a few things, very relevant ones too. And one thing I want to say here, those days, the Naxalism was a big deal in that state. And these lawmakers were asking Swami how to handle Naxalism. Now, Swami gave a beautiful spiritual answer. He didn't give any kind of, you have to improve police force, you do. No, he gave a beautiful spiritual answer. And he said, the relevance of Naxalism comes only when there is no love between the haves and the have nots, when there is no love between the rich and the poor. And that was his answer. The message was, you have to bridge the gap between rich and the poor, and then there is no reason why people would hate each other. And Naxalism or any of this ism will not have any relevance when there is love between the haves and have nots, or the rich and the poor. A
Yeah.
very powerful message, a spiritual message.
Baba's messages were always important. There was never an insignificant message. And you were talking just a minute ago about how you learned in your heart to think of him as God, as everybody does. But don't forget ever his first and overarching request of many devotees who would come to him, or in discussions and long talks, where he would simply point his finger at you and say, repeat after me, I am God, I am God. I am no different from God. So there's huge lessons to be had for the aspiring Baba devotee.
Yes, and I think this, you just mentioned this, I am God and I am God. And if we look at the organization, or even when I teach SSC, the reason is to bring the innate divinity in the children. The purpose of the organization is to realize your divinity. And what a major, what a great cause. It is nothing else but just focus on how you realize a God. Now, coming to this interview, I'll just give one or two episodes here, and then we
Yes.
move on. And most important, as as a young guy, engineering student, what struck me was this episode where he took a copper ring from my brother, my Sai brother. His name is Advocate Vraj Mohan, and he had a copper ring which was on the market. And Swami took it, and he looked at it, and he gave it back to the devotees there. Only five of us there now. The other the legislative people left, and it's only five of us now. And we all said it is copper ring with Swami's head on it. And Swami took it back. He blows it, and it becomes silver. And he calls him. He puts it, and he says, "Perfect size, be perfect." Now, two things here. I am of the opinion that he's a magician, yes. But a magician also has a very transformational message for the person who's seeing the magic.
Yeah.
And this person will always remember in his life to be perfect. A very transformational. The ring is immaterial, but the message and the power that message brings in terms of transformation to that individual is going to be lifetime. And that to me was the difference between the magic he performs and the magic which anybody else would perform. Yes. And Ted, one more thing was which made me very curious at that time. Why just blowing air, he's changing copper to silver? I just asked ChatGPT right now, how can I change copper to silver? And you know the answer? Converting copper to silver physically or chemically is not feasible. These are two distinct elements with different atomic structures.
I feel like saying, who are you kidding? You're talking about Sai Baba. And I have a funny way of looking at it sometimes too, because I am on his paths more than I ever thought I would be, especially about awakening to the truth of who you are. So I'm reminded sometimes that, yes, Baba says this is a dream. And yes, he says you are God. What more do you need to hear? If he can do that, if he can stand behind that, of course he can change whatever it might be to gold and have no problem whatsoever. So it's a game we all have to learn to play, isn't it?
That's right. And my young rational engineering mindset couldn't get this, right? And that's where I was also baffled by this. Oh, he can
Sure
do
you would
this.
be. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the first hook he has, right? You're watching this and I'm doing this. And instantly Now he also answers he then calls me towards him and asks me, what do you want?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. And he creates a silver ring for me, and I have to wear it to my college. And when I go to college after that, that's when people started asking, what is this? What is this?
Well,
Oh, this is,
if you're going to talk about it, hold it up to the camera. Just hold it.
no, I don't have it right now.
Okay.
I missed it, and that's another story. But that's
Okay. Yeah.
it was with me for at least 10 years, and then it went in its own way. But that's itself is another story. But here now I got exposed in my college. Everybody knows that I am a devotee of Sai Baba, and that's how it started. Now from that asking of whether I'm challenging God, and one more thing he did in front of me was to the Sai brother who came. He created vibhuti and applied at his stomach over there, and he said, "Your stomach was not well, and here you are cured." And after the interview, while we are coming back, this brother was telling me, I had pain there. I have never told anybody. Until today, he was a guru. But now he is God because he knows, which I don't tell anyone. He knows what I'm going through. That for me also was like, he's no more a guru. We might have to treat him like a god.
Which raises the question, what is this God's primary goal for the rest of us?
If devotees, and I know they exist, I've already talked to them, I've interviewed some, who do awaken to their truth, their humble, egoless truth of identity, everything else profits around them. The seva that people are doing, the devotional singing, the bhakti, and everything else. Where does that fit in? Maybe in your group or in any Sai group, it's my understanding that too few Sai groups focus on that teaching.
Ted, thank you. That question is a very powerful question, because the way I understand the question is, in this lifetime, awaken yourself to the divinity within you, and how the various areas of the organization helps us do that. Now, I start with service. And the big difference of Sai organization doing service, it's not charity, it is selfless, or selfless seva we call. The reason it should not be from our ego. It should come from within the urge to serve, to see the same God in others. That is a principle by which he has defined us. That's a principle in which he has asked us to do. More importantly, every seva is an opportunity to see the reflection of him in others. And what I mean, and I have a great example in one of the seva things we were doing. We used to do in a park, homeless breakfast for the homeless. And one day, while we were doing this, one of my Sai brothers, he just smiles whenever he serves. And the recipient, he made a comment. He said, "Your smile is like a sunshine. It makes my day." It was not about the food we gave. It was who we are there. And for me to smile, I should feel my divinity in me. I cannot be angry. It's not about the ego. When if I stand there and smile, that Sai brother, if he stood and smiled, he was experiencing the divinity in him. And that got reflected and transformed as somebody else to see that. One more episode on the same day, another person walks by and says, "Hey, I like your jacket." And this Sai brother immediately takes this off and gave it to him. It was not an ordinary jacket. It was a $200 better, good brand jacket. And without any single thought, as if Sai is asking, he gave it. The message is not about he gave it. Who did he give it to? He gave it to another Sai. So that inner connection of when you see Sai within each and every one others, irrespective of color, irrespective of caste, irrespective of that is where and how we experience divinity. And that is how we experience his teaching, and we put his teaching in practice. Because he said, You are one, everyone is alike. And when we approach the same activity like that, that is how we realize the divinity across and we awaken the divinity. Not to forget, you earlier mentioned about the other aspect of devotional singing. A lot of people experience, because of the emotional impact it has on our system, because when you hear music, it has an impact on us, and that is again awakening the inner consciousness within you, and it connects you with Sai. And that's my experience. I'm not explaining from a theoretical point of view, but when I sit for these devotional singing meetings, at least at a few bhajans, I am able to connect with him. And that feeling, that moment, is where I feel I'm establishing this. And the next one is obviously the most treasure, the best treasure he has ever given is literature. And when you delve into those literature, is really you understand what is the purpose of life. And to your point, you have to get awakened this lifetime, because he said, I came so that you don't have to come back again. I came and gave you all the instruction, material, and everything so that you can practice and you don't have to come back again. What do you mean by come back again? You become awakened yourself.
Yeah.
So to your question there, I think that's the power. That's how the Sai Center wants to be perceived. And that's how we want to be in the community, that we are here to help awaken this divinity in everyone.
That's wonderful. You put it very, very well. No doubt you're aware, and I'm not going to ask you to go any further than this, but you're likely aware of people who have awakened in the Sai world in general, and specifically perhaps even in your beloved Richmond Center. Because when people have that attitude where they stand and smile when others are being fed food, and the appreciation level is up this high when a person comes up to a devotee and says, in so many words, you feed me with your smile. That's proof that the person is pretty well advanced in Swami's teachings. Let's pick up from where you left off on the different passages that you went through with Swami's teachings.
Yes, it was the ring, and then I come back to college, and then everybody now have to talk about Sai Baba. Everybody knows that I am a Sai devotee. And by this, my youth is sealed, meaning I have this label that I'm a Sai devotee. It's good and bad. Now, people don't ask me to drink. People don't ask me to go to those kind of things because they know this guy don't come, because this guy has a different way of life. And they think it is his life is spoiled. That's how I got the reaction from a lot of my friends, because I don't go for a lot of things, the parties and other things which other youngsters want to go, college students want to go.
I would guess you around 34 years of age. You're 54 years of age. You're well preserved, and it's all because of Baba, I'm sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Yes, no, I think that is also his grace. And all my youth, I think that is the most forming stages of any human being. And I got the blessing and privilege to do his work, and mostly service, mostly activities, which was revolving till I got married. And then comes marriage. There are different stories how he was guiding me. I think this is where now, from a magician, he sort of become a guru. And in that interview, he told me, I gave you engineering to study well. That was a response to the prayer I had during one of my challenge. I was challenging him, you have to give me this engineering admission. And in this interview, he confirmed to me, I gave you engineering to study well. And the next thing he told me was, do MBA. And at that time, and the final year of engineering, every college student has this doubt about whether I should go for MBA, whether I should go for MTech, should I go for a job? That is a big confusing part for every youngster. And here I am getting the advice and guidance from Swami himself, saying you go for MBA. So that question is answered. Now he's guiding. He started guiding. There were other areas when I asked for marriage. He says, wait. Then this whole life episode goes along where he intervenes, and I get his guidance on every step, every major milestone of life. And all of a sudden, guide, now comes this name called protector. I mean, he's God. He's now slowly getting as a God in me. But fast forward, I come to US, and me, my wife, and my brother-in-law makes a trip from Richmond to South Carolina. It was April time frame, no chances of snow. We are on I-85 in an SUV, and we are going south. All of a sudden, the weather changes, clouds come, and it snows. And this SUV is going on an average speed 65 miles or 70 miles per hour. It's only three of us. And it snows, and the road becomes slippery. And lo and behold, it was driven by my brother-in-law, whether he applies brake or not, this car slips. It goes and hits the side wall of the road. It comes back. And at this point, I'm like, nothing will happen. It's all going to be fine. I was internally laughing, oh, this will just go there and come back and it will stop. The way it hit on the other side, the same force it comes and hits on the opposite side, and it just goes back and forth. And we all are wearing seatbelts, fortunately. And it was about to tip. The next thing it could, because everything is happening in seconds and it's going back and forth. And it's about the next thing, it's about to topple. And now I fear, oh, this is going to be dangerous. At this point, I call, Swami. That car just stops right there. No matter what the force at which the other side, it can go. With the word Swami, it just stops there.
That's great.
An inanimate object responds for this calling. I think that is again, this now he's a protector. He protects us from everything. And now the thing, now I'm getting more and more from him, as if now from a magician to this teacher, to guide, and now he's a protector. And then life fast forward. I just want to finish this. Where am I now in this journey is, then we get a chance because of COVID, we delve into his teachings. And that is where what you said earlier, the purpose of life becomes very evident. And the purpose of life is to awaken your inner divinity right now. Yeah. And how does it happen? And for me, I know that there is this realization. But right now, where I am is, when I close my eyes, I can experience something, peace within, an awareness of him, through him connecting to my inner divinity. It is not emotions. It is beyond my emotion. Through him, I am able to connect to my inner consciousness. That awareness is slowly started building up. Yeah. And now I'm like, how do I know that? I am more peaceful. I don't care about what happens in life. What happens is his plan. Whether it is suffering or whether it is a celebration, I am able to maintain. Even if it is suffering, I'm thinking this is his plan. It has to happen, and he'll take care. And when you close your eyes, when you hear a bhajan or when you go out for service, you can feel. And through Sai Baba, through Bhagavan, you are connecting to your inner reality. I am not claiming that I know I'm not awakened, I'm not realized, but there is a difference in me. And that power is what he is all about. And now he came. How he makes a person transform from unbelieving to believing, and eventually, to your point, a person is able to realize him in this lifetime. And for that, all the activities of the organization is that which aids us, be it, as you said, the seva activities, the devotional singing, and more importantly, his teachings. His Vahinis is what gave me the most important literature about all the spiritual aspects. Since COVID, we had a group from my native place where we delve into this Vahinis very deeply. And that is what actually awakened and gave me this realization of this connection. I don't use the word realization because that's too far. but this connection with him. And when I say now, it's not the 5 foot Sai Baba. I know it is him. It is my divinity in me. And that's what, and you, when you said earlier, he didn't come to give me give trinkets and pendants and all. He came here to give the best treasure of life, which is that realization which gives everything. And even if I have a ring, I could still have suffering.
Yeah.
But now when I have him, that suffering is handled with care.
Yeah.
That suffering is taken care of.
You're doing such a good job with this. It reminds me of a word that I think I learned along the way. I can't remember first if I learned it from my Catholic faith that I was raised in, or Course of Miracles, which I studied for many, many years, which is an introduction of non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, to Westerners, and asking Baba twice about who wrote it. He said, I did. And the second time he said, best book I've ever written, best book I ever wrote, I think is how he phrased it. But we learn that there's a very important way to move forward, and it's called surrender. And whether we use the word or not isn't material. It's how we open ourselves to Baba's guidance in our lives, and it never ends. And so I think you're building a wonderful example of how when one surrenders to the truth that's with you, you'll continue to grow into your last breath, and likely thereafter as well. So thank you very much. I bet this question has been asked of you 100 times, especially in your capacity as the president of a Sai Center. And that is, please tell us how you first came to find yourself on the Sai Baba path.
Thank you, Ted, for that question. That takes me long into my childhood. Maybe I was in the 5th grade or 4th grade. And I mean, even before the 4th grade part, wherein I was asked to join the Bal Vikas, the program where they teach children about stories and other things. But even before that, some of my cousins who were already in this path, they came to my nearby temple to write the Bal Vikas examination. And they asked my parents, hey, why don't you send me also to these classes? He'll be doing good. The immediate reply from my father was, I am not sending my children to this magician. And the reason at that time, I come from a state of Kerala, which has a high degree of communism, even still now present. And there was a lot of atheism also at that point. And anything regarding spirituality, there was a lot of negative which was written. And I think my dad actually stumbled upon more negative things about Sai Baba at that time than anything he could hear positive. So the frame of mind or the idea I got was he's a magician. And he said, no, you're not going there. What happened 2-3 years down the line was his own very influential relatives, they started this class in our family temple, which is close by. And they told my dad, hey, send your children here. He didn't have an answer. He could not be obliged to them because they were very influential. And he obliged, and my mom took me to the SSC program or the Bal Vikas program there. And that's how my journey started. My first interaction after that with Bhagwan was when we went for an Onam celebration, where as children we were taught Vedam, and our opportunity is to go and stand in front of him and chant this Vedam before his discourses.
That's quite an accomplishment as a child to learn that, isn't it?
That is right. And now, when I look back, and when incidentally my wife is right now learning Vedam these days.
Really?
And yes, and she's like, how did you learn this? You didn't have any books, you didn't have any of those. I said, no, we were just taught by hearing. Yeah. There was no books, there was nothing. It was the teacher would just read it to us, or rather he will chant to us, and we'll just have to memorize just by hearing. And that's why we went to Puttaparthi. That's my first reason why I went to Puttaparthi, to see Swami, just to chant Vedam in front of him.
Wow, that's amazing. And for those people who might be new to Sai Baba or Souljourns, or don't know what the Vedam is, give us an insight as to how complicated it is and how long it is just to chant it, to sing it in the first place.
The first and the most important thing is it is very powerful sounds which are arranged in various meters with, and the power is around the frequency in which we chant. And it also has a deep spiritual meaning to each of those. So we didn't know the meaning. We were just instructed to chant based on the meter, based on the frequency, and the ups and downs on how you need to chant and all those kind of things. And it is more Sanskrit. And at those days, I never read Sanskrit. I never learned Sanskrit. It was a little foreign to me. And I was learning in an English medium school, mostly following English and Malayalam, which is my native language. But that is where the beauty, even though it was so difficult, but as a young child, this is where the memory gets fed and you automatically absorb what is given. I think the power there is, even though it is so difficult, but hearing at a young age and taught very methodically by a person who knows it very well, I think that made a big difference in understanding those powerful mantras at that time.
So the length of it must vary from how quickly some people chant it compared to others who take a slower approach. Roughly speaking, how many minutes long is this chant?
No, the Rudram, which normally takes around 20 to 25 minutes, and
Yeah.
there are 11 chapters. If you on an average speed, it is 20 to 25 minutes, and we had to memorize all those 11 chapters, and none of these words I've heard before. It is like Greek to me because we never heard all these, and this is very complicated words also. So, and that's a difficult part of it. But I would say, with the grace of Baba, as well as the grace of the teacher who taught us. And I would also take this opportunity to pay this homage to my teacher that time, Sri T.N. Natarajan, who was a state president, who's the one who took this initiative to teach us. And eventually the entire state of Kerala embraced this whole Vedam learning after that. So it was a very powerful thing. And Ted, when I talk about that, I also want to mention one thing. More than the complexity, actually Bhagavan made a big revolution in this space. In the initial time, the Vedams was only done by a few people, but he made it so he made it so popular. Whether it is women, whether it is men, any caste, creed can learn this spiritual topic, and that was very powerful.
And it was all men or boys before who had chanted, correct?
Correct. And now it is everyone, irrespective of your social status, irrespective of your caste, religion, anyone can learn this and anyone can practice this. And he emphasized on the universal aspect of it. He didn't emphasize as a regular Hindu ritual, but the reason he emphasized was the frequency, the power of the way it is chanted, and how it can impact our human brains and how we can change and how we can heal. That's what he emphasized.
So I'm still amazed. I've been always amazed when I've heard people stand up in front of Baba and do this chant. But it's in a foreign, when you said it's like Greek to you, it is Greek. It's Sanskrit, which has to be even probably potentially more complicated than Greek. And you were, again, how old?
Now, I was in 9 years old, first time.
9 years old. So you learned this chant in a foreign language with difficult words, just based on sounds, and you committed it to memory at the age of 9. I just find that absolutely amazing because it's unheard of here in the West. I mean, I'm not aware of too many people who can sing something longer than 2 or 3 minutes, but as a child, being able to pull this off is nothing short of a miracle, I would say.
That is the miracle he did to many folks, not me. There are, I would now say there are thousands and millions of people who are doing this. And that's why I think that's why I call it as a spiritual revolution he started. And to your point, yeah, 9-year-old memorizing for 25 minutes and chanting nonstop 25 minutes. I think that if that was not there, I would not have so much memory right now.
Well, I'm going to test your memory. I'm going to ask you something you've likely never been heard before. Let's go for 30, 45 seconds tops. Anything, any part of it that you like, especially because of its rhythm, because of the words, because of the sounds. Would you just give us a brief sample for half a minute or more?
I'll chant one thing which struck me a lot. Brahmanosya mugamaseda bahurajanyakridaha uru tadasya advaishya padyagam shudro ajayada chandrama manaso jadaha chaksho suryo ajayada mugandindraschagnischa pranadvayurajayada nabhya asidandhariksham. Now, there were a couple of things here. I just, there are very, this is from the Purusha Suktam. And Brahmanosya Mugamasid. So there is a misconception about caste in India. That the Brahmins are the higher ones, the Vaishnavas, the Kshatriyas, the Shudras. In this, the way it is described is, you as a person, Brahmanosya Mugam, your face is Brahmana. Your chest is Kshatriya, that's where you are a warrior. Your thighs where you walk, and that's where you do, that's where your Vaishva, and the foot is Shudra. So it has nothing to do with your social thing. It is just different parts of your body and how that is defined. And that is why Swami said, there is only one religion, the religion of love. There is only one caste, the caste of humanity.
Gopa, I'm so happy that we've had this opportunity to hear your story, and I'm sure it includes many other elements, which I'd like to be able to tap on your memory bank and have you report again in the future. Thank you for joining us on Souljourns. And do you have a final comment you want to leave us with?
I think, Ted, my final comment is, it's always a pleasure and privilege and blessing to have you ask a lot of questions. And some of these questions you asked were not planned also. So I feel it is him working through us. And it is the inner eye in each of us working together, so that the world realizes that these eyes, the eye of ego, can be crushed, and the simple I just exists in this world, so that this world can be a better place for everyone to enjoy themselves, operating through the connection, the God connection within each of us. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, that's a perfect final word to end our conversation on. Again, I thank you for it, because it's opened my eyes in many ways. And once again, Baba doesn't let you down. He has given me many new nuggets to consider, which I'm going to do. Thank you. God bless Sai Ram, and continued success in the world of Sai. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai Ram. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.